What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to Sharpen the Public. As always, I'm Deej. I'm your host, back again with my co-host, Andy, here to break down the wild card week in the NFL. Super excited. Andy, how are you?
I'm good. You threw me off by switching up what you said at the start of the podcast. I did not expect that. I'm sure that was unintentional, but
I messed myself
up. Means we're already off to a good start and what is going to be an absolutely crazy wild card weekend. I'm pumped, man. These matchups are also pretty strange with the Browns and the Texans, Steelers and Bills. Both of those are going to throw you off. And if that wasn't enough to throw you off, then the snow game is also going to throw you off. So we're here to help you navigate the way with what the public and the money and the sharps are up to heading into these matchups. These bet counters of how many people have already wagered, we're recording this the evening of Thursday, January 11th. And we are looking at some numbers here that were comparable to the total, how many people were betting on the games last week. And we still got 3 days.
Yeah,
of action left to go, as well as like what you would see on some of the lower tier games, the less interesting games throughout the entire season. And people are already loading up heading into these wild card games. So I'm interested to see kind of how that pans out, because we didn't see these types of bet numbers last year, but it also takes into account that it's become a lot more legalized 365 days ago.
Yeah, it's really interesting, and we got so many cool trends to talk about in regards to the public, in regard to just game by game and wildcard week. You know, Joe Flacco's back in the playoffs, and he's 5-0 ATS wildcard weekend, so definitely look for that. But we got a bunch of stuff to go through here on the episode.
Yeah, in the wild card.
Yeah, that's what I said. I said, don't worry.
Oh, okay. Because not to be confused with 11-4 ATS in the playoffs as a whole.
Yes.
So.
Tidbits of truth and so many things that we can talk about here on the episode in order to win bets this week. Because, I mean, again, Andy, I went even on units. I went 4-5, but I had a 2-unit win. So, like, it evened out again. And I don't know how it happens. I think it's done the last 4 or 5 weeks I've been even. So I need to step it up at the wild card week, because last year we didn't have a great start in the wild card weekend. But we've learned from our mistakes, and we're going to be fine.
You are just loading up, going even, just waiting to explode now as we hit the finish line. So this is what we've been going for. But hey, I say tread with caution, because we were super hyped about a lot of the trends we had going into last year's wild card, and you, me, and Rick, all three got absolutely obliterated by the wild card round last year. So if something like that happens to you all when betting the wild card, do not be discouraged. That could be a trend. We'll see how this year goes.
Yeah, the big trend from last year is the totals went 5 to the over last year, even though there were so many unders throughout the year, and that's something that we heavily looked at, and it didn't go so well. So gonna look to improve there, but as we usually do on Sharpen the Public, we talk about everything week to week, but we're just gonna skip over that, because I mean, there's no point in talking about week 18 now. The regular season is over. We have to focus on the playoffs. I will note and say that we said the public was going to do really well, and they did go 9-7 in week 18. So good to see that happen. Some other things that we talked about as well, but let's talk about the total public betting trends to date, and then we can kind of start breaking down things in terms of how the wildcard weekend is going to go game by game and stuff like that. But to start it off, the creme de la creme, the public, the thing that everyone wants to hear about, 56% win percentage over the entire course of the season after betting 18 weeks, and 147 and 117 ATS. That includes some pushes to get you to the 272 games that they play, but absolutely incredible. What else can we say?
Profitable to tail the public all year. In fact, very healthily profitable. You talk about having to hit 52% to break a profit in sports betting because of the minus 110 juice, and they went 4% over that. That's really impressive, and kudos to the public for doing so well. Let's hope that they crash and burn next year, because I feel like we did not really take advantage of that enough. You and I continue to say this is going to regress to the mean. It never did, and we have, hand up, we were wrong. Put your hand up.
Yeah,
we were wrong.
We were wrong. I mean, we really were. Like, we kind of, I wouldn't say that it like affected us too much, but trying to interpret what's going to happen. It's really difficult, and it's interesting because the public didn't do nearly as well as they did this year, and they still do relatively well in the wildcard week. They're, over the last 20 years, I think they're a 53% win percentage hitting games in the wildcard week. Last year they went 3-3, so that's kind of right in line with that. So just something to look out for as we kind of dive into these games and talk about the betting tickets and money, because it's really minute when it comes to when it comes to the wild card because there's so many more bets, like fewer games, a lot more analysis for bookmakers to really sharpen that line. And if you didn't get in at the best number, which is usually at the beginning, it's going to be really hard. But we'll talk about it and we'll hit all those stuff. Let's finish off with these trends. Money percentage went 141 and 123. ATS over the year, that's a 53% win percentage. So they stayed above that number that you talked about, the 52% in order to win bets or win money. And then sharp differential actually went a 133 and 131. It's a 50 point whatever percent win percentage. Kind of crazy, especially when you take into account like what we talked about last year, how different it is. It's kind of flipped on its head entirely.
I'm at a loss for words, DJ. I didn't think the public would outperform both metrics that worked out so well for us last year, but hence that is why we do the podcast, right? To kind of illustrate that it's not so simple just fading the public. And I think that there is a lot to be said about that. But I mean, we've been beating that drum all season. I don't need to beat it even more heading into the wild card weekend.
Yeah, I mean, there's probably countless clips that you could find of us being like, this is going to happen, and none of it happened because everything really just stayed consistent throughout the year. The crazy thing happened. The crazy thing is like the high amount of public tickets still did really well. Like that's when people say, oh, the public's on this side, fade it, and it still went 16, 4, 20, 24, 25 games above 500. Insane, absolutely insane. So keep that in mind. Fading the public is a ridiculous narrative, and that's what we're here to show on Sharpen the Public. But let's move to totals. Public betting the over 71 and 83 on the year, which is actually a 46% win percentage, and that might not be great like to the naked eye, but they went 42% last year. So a 4% increase, and a significant portion of that came in the second half of the year when, you know, we were talking about how crazy totals how low totals were, and it kind of flipped. You know, it didn't end up being positive, but I think it was like 40% at some point in the midpoint, and now it's 46%. That's impressive.
Yeah, 46% for the public on the over is still not great, but it is better than we expected. They're always traditionally terrible at betting the over, but historically pretty good at betting the under. And the 54% win percentage for the public on the under shows that, right? So a 54% win percentage over an entire season is still really solid. So not a ton there. I think they didn't do as bad as expected on the over.
Yeah, exactly. And the main thing I think there is like similar to the point about the high amount of public tickets is like when you see 85% of tickets on a team, people are going to scream fade the public. Or if you see 85% of the money or public on the over, you're kind of going to think the same way. And we kind of touted that in the beginning of the year, but we made sure to talk about it and be like, no, it's going to switch, or it's likely will switch based on what happened last year. I didn't think it switched this much, but if you look at tickets 70% or more betting the over, it went 20 and 26 over the course of the year, which is way better than in 2022 when it went 9 and 20. So way better.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, those are the major trends, major things we talk about. Money percentage under finished at 88 and 75. That's a 54% win percentage. Sharp differential on the under 114 and 90. Crazy how many times that happened, but it only finished at 56% win percentage. Money percentage on the over 48 and 54. Sorry, which is a 47% win percentage, and then sharp differential on the over 32 and 28, which is a 53% win percentage. So I will personally be kind of looking for those sharp differentials on the over. I think they've been doing really well to end the year because it was somewhat closer to like 47%, and it ended at 53%, especially as, you know, if overs do continue to happen like they did last year in the wild card week. So definitely something that I want to look for. And who doesn't want to see points? But there's some interesting weather predictions to talk about here for wild card week, right, Andy?
Yeah, I'm with you. When something does like kind of turn on the Jets there at the end of the season, similar to how the sharp differential did on the over, then definitely an actual item. But yeah, I think that the weather is going to affect how people are betting on some of these, where like, for example, with the snow game, everyone's just pounding the under so much that the total has gone down almost 3 points now, or a full 3 points in some spots. That's to be expected, right? Everyone's just going to slam the under. But hey, maybe we find areas where we are able to zag against that because you don't need to use the trend logic, you use actual logic. So we'll see. We'll navigate it game by game. It's something that you don't want to just blindly take, as we said.
Yeah. So let's talk about what the public did and like the public betting trends for wild card week last year, because we do have that data, and that's kind of what we're here for. Public went 3-3. Money went 3-3. Sharp differential 3-3. Very upsetting.
Yeah, and I think we were like 1-5 or 0-6 or some shit on the wild card last year as a massacre. So good for all of them for breaking even. I guess you just have to pay your juice, whatever.
Golden rule and Geico trend. The Geico trend went 2-0 last year, which is 15% or sharps or more. Golden rule went 1-0, which is 20 to 29% sharp differential. Public over 70% went 0-2. So that's something of note for sure. So that means anything under 70% public tickets went 3-1. So maybe over the history of, how good the public's been, I said they've been 53% over the last 20 years betting in the wildcard week. Maybe they're really just not so great above 70%, but I don't have the data to say that. That's just my interpretation of it.
Yeah, but that's something that we've seen across like throughout the years, right? That high confidence public is always not great. So
except for this year, it's like, well, what's going to happen?
Except for this year, correct? Yeah, so it is a bit of a mixed bag. That's a good point.
Totals, like I said, 5 games went towards the over. Public went 3-1 betting the over. Public went 0-2 betting the under. I think that's maybe just a bit of a nuance since 5 games did go over. Money percentage on the over 1-1. Sharp differential on the over 0-1. Money percentage on the under 0-4. Sharp differential on the under 0-5. And that's partly why we didn't have a great year last. I think I bet 4 unders last year.
That's what we do, though. You know what you're signing up for this with this podcast. You're
Take
going to
under.
hear us talk about the trends, and you're going to hear us say, take the under. It is what
Absolutely.
It is. I mean,
it's just
you know
that
exactly
simple.
what you're signing up for.
Yeah. All right. Before we get into the games, Andy, do you have any fun trends that you want to talk about for Wild Card Week? I know that. We already mentioned the Joe Flacco one. It's kind of insane.
Yeah, I think we can get there as we go game by game. I'll have a few to give out depending on the game that we're talking about.
Okay.
But double-digit favorites in the Wild Card Weekend, 11-4 ATS. It proves double-digit favorites. Take it as you will. Whether there's date range or not. And then dogs over the last 6 wildcard weekends, just underdogs in general, 20-10. So
Insane.
Yeah, just keep both of those in mind. Home dogs as well at that, 8-3-2. Both of those are ATS. So just keep that in mind. Those 3 as we're kind of navigating these. But ultimately, right, the only one that we have a double-digit spread on is that Steelers and Bills game. So I could have hit that when we get there, but still, they are just both general trends that we'll get into as we get there.
Yeah, those are absolutely fun trends. All right, Andy, I'm going to ask you a series of questions here regarding this week. I'm going to ask you to not look at the Andy, which team do you think will be the public's favorited bet this week? And we'll take the answer to be as of right now. We're recording this on Thursday.
I'm going to go with the Chiefs.
Wow, the Chiefs. Chiefs are currently sitting at as 4.5-point home favorites. They're 58% of the bets. The favored team by the public is currently the Rams, +3 on the road. The Jared Goff and Matt Stafford Bowl.
And what's the percentage of bets?
73%.
Wow. Yeah, that makes me like Dolphins. Not Dolphins. Jesus, that makes me like the Lions even more.
That's gonna be such a good game. It's the Matt Stafford Bowl. It's such a good one. It's obviously one of the most bet. Yeah.
There's a lot of narrative because one, it's LA media huge, right? But also, the Rams have been making a really solid run towards the back half of the season. I attribute it to that. I also attribute it to the fact that we have seen the Lions fall flat a bit in some games that are a bit closer like this, in some games that are against teams that are pretty good. But to me, there are still a lot of glaring issues with the Rams that we should talk about when we get to that game.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Where I don't necessarily agree with the public siding with that. But, hey, the public hit a higher win percentage this season than I did. So who am I to doubt the public at all back in the Rams this weekend? We'll see.
Yeah. A 56% win percentage this year from the public is pretty good. So definitely might be on the side of the Rams this week. And then the second question, which game do you think will be bet the most? And we'll take the bets right now to say.
Snow game. Yeah, snow game. It's already 72,000 bets. I knew that.
Yeah, 73,000 bets now. Dolphins Chiefs is currently the best, highest bet game of the slate, and we are on Thursday night. So interesting to see.
Yeah, totally. Again, I'm interested to see if that's still the case. I feel like there are other games that have the potential to pass it, but I see it both ways, right? Everyone's going to want some action on the snow game, but also there are people out there that are going to be like, no fucking chance I'm betting that game. So we'll see what happens. It should be,
All right.
I'll be betting it. I'll be
Yeah.
betting
Oh
it.
yeah. Of course. All right.
I'm ready to talk about it.
Yeah, it's time to get into the game. So what we're going to get here, I want us to come up with a Sharpen the Public teaser, which cashed last week, by the way. Thank you, Jets and Ravens, barely cashing for the Ravens.
Shout out.
We're going to get a Sharpen the Public teaser, and we're both going to get a best bet of the week. That's at least one goal. We'll probably have multiple, but I need your best bet.
Cool. Yeah,
Right.
I can definitely do that.
Cool. Let's get into it. So let's start with Browns -2 in Houston. Total set at 44.5. The public is on the Browns currently at 64%, and the money's sitting at 71% towards the Browns, giving them a 7% sharp edge. When we're talking about these games in the wildcard round, it's going to be really important to talk about the line and the line movement, because especially in the wildcard, I kind of prefaced it at the beginning, there's going to be so many eyes on this line, and it's going to be really difficult to see at the end of the week to get that value that you could have had at the beginning of the weekend. We might like a team at +3.5 and not like them at +2.5, right? So it's going to be really important to talk about the line here. The line opened in Houston with the Browns favored at 1.5, and it's moved to 2 and 2.5 in some spots. It even hit 3, but it was right back to 2.5 by some of the pro bettors. So keep that in mind. Where do you stand right now, Andy, on Browns Texans?
Everything is all aboard the Flacco train, in the sense that the public sitting at 64% of the bets, the money is sitting at 71%. We were at 68,000 bets when you and I started talking before we started recording. We're already at 70,000, so 2,000 more bets have been placed on this game. The volume is what's going to shift these around. I do think that we have enough of a sample size now to tell us that people are going Browns. I get all the Flacco stuff. I really do. Can I tell you something, though? I was surprised when 11-4 ATS in the playoffs is awesome. I didn't know he only played 15 playoff games. I thought he played more playoff games than that in his career.
After they won the Super Bowl, they really didn't make the playoffs that often, especially when they lost a lot of that defense, the Ed Reed and Ray Lewis era. It was kind of like ghost town.
Yeah. I have some thoughts on the trends for this one that make me want to zag when everyone else is going with the Browns. And I'm not sure how you feel about that, but I feel pretty strongly. And this is why. Teams who played in Week 18 competing for a playoff spot versus teams who rested and clinched. So Houston
versus Cleveland.
Win and end against the Colts.
Yep.
And they ended up winning the division because of Jacksonville. I still have lost sleep over that this week, but anywho. Our 14-5 ATS since 2015. Wow. The Browns are 2-5-1 ATS on the road this season. DJ.
They're terrible on the road. Their defense is awful.
They are horrible on the road. And I'm not necessarily saying that Houston is some fortress at home, right? But I do think it is something to be said that when they are sleeping in a bed that is not theirs, that they are not very good. I mean, that is the fourth, or tied for the third worst. No, I can't count. Tied for the fourth worst ATS on the road this season. Carolina, Tennessee, and Atlanta were worse than them. But besides that, it's Cleveland, the Jets, and Denver, all at 2-5-1.
They're a historically bad defense when they're on the road. It's just that simple. They let up so many points.
That's just so crazy.
The flip-flop of how good they are versus how bad they are at home, or how good they are at home versus how bad they are on the road. Yeah.
It is something I've been looking to a lot more heavy when I've been betting basketball this season too, is looking at the home and roads. And I kind of wish I would do it a bit more with NFL. I just didn't think that I'd find a discrepancy this big. But something like this actually matters. Like people put a lot of away stuff into the equation when we're talking about neutral games too. The Houston crowd's going to be fired up. They just won the division. CJ Stroud, I can see there being some troubles against his defense that is way, 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 way better than the ones that he has ended the season against. This is going to be one of the best defenses he's faced. And these guys should have already played each other, right?
Yes, the Browns beat them 34-22 in Houston.
Yeah. So congrats on one win in Houston. They've got the tape. CJ Stroud is smart, Forget what the draft scouts said. I cannot believe that people said heading into the draft, oh, he doesn't care. Oh, he's not smart enough. Oh, he doesn't understand enough. Fuck that. We are going with the Texans on the money line, DJ.
Oh, Texans money line.
Yeah. Plus
I love it.
115. I might be able to find better on BetStamp. I'm going to let you go, and then I'm going to see if I can find something. I could probably find plus 120 somewhere, I bet. What are you thinking?
So the Browns beat them in Week 16, but it was against Davis Mills. So keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Now we've got.
I knew it was at the end of the season.
Yeah. Now we've got C.J.
I
Stroud.
forgot it was Dickie Mills.
C.J. Stroud, rookie head coach, D'Amico Ryans as well. I like the Texans in this spot too. Although the 2.5 scares me. I wish I got in when it's 3. I think maybe I have the notifications on. So now that we're putting the podcast out, I'll probably take it whenever 3 gets hit. But yeah, I'm kind of leaning towards the Texans right now for our Sharpen the Public teaser. I love the 8-3-2 home dogs and the wild card. I love kind of what you said about the Browns defense and how bad they are on the road. One thing that is not going to be talked about a lot and needs to be talked about a lot, Andy, is data that only we have. And are you ready for this?
I am ready.
The Browns are 10-6-1 ATS this season, but they are 1-5 ATS when the public backs them. The public is currently 64% on them with 71% of the money. Give me the Texans. Hopefully I can get a +3, but right now it's 2.5.
Yeah, we'll see. I think the line movement is definitely helpful where you can get that field goal of security. I don't need it. Plus 115 is the best I could find. I'll go with Texans plus 115 for a full unit. You are going to go with the Texans spread, hoping that you can get a 3, but you're going to have to wait for DJ's play because it's a lean right now, correct? Just a heavy lean. You're taking it no matter what, but just going to see if you get the better number.
Yeah. If I can't get the better number, they will be absolutely locked into the teaser. I think my plan is to, obviously, I release an article every Sunday. I'm planning to release it Saturday, and it will have every play, and then I can make updates kind of based on what we see on Saturday and changings as of Sunday. So just keep that in mind. That will be my plan. But right now, love the Texans. I think the home dog, they got that dog in them, Andy. They really just got that dog in them.
And you know what, dude? This is a grade A candidate or one of the legs for the Sharpen the Public teaser.
That's what I'm saying.
It really is. The problem is we're not getting a ton of low totals.
Yeah,
in the
they're
playoffs
high.
this week. This would be like, this is like the lower end for us. I mean, we're not talking 35 like in the Bills and Steelers game because we're in a dome, but I don't know, man. I really like it. It's still below 49, which is a magic number. You never want to tease anything above 40.
Let's go to a game that should be the total should be far lower than it currently is. Total set of 44 in this snow game that's set to be 0 degrees with some crazy wind. Dolphins plus 4.5 in Kansas City. Right now, the weather says partly cloudy, 0 degrees, with current 14 mile an hour concurrent winds with gusts. So don't know necessarily what that means. You're taking the Dolphins team that is so high powered and such a potent offense, but do not play well in the cold. And you've got a Chiefs team that hasn't looked amazing all season, but is the Chiefs, and it's Patrick Mahomes. This is another one with some interesting live movement. It opened at 3 and has been all the way, Chiefs have been bet to 4.5. This is where there's been some Dolphins resistance now. You're seeing some money come in on them with the money being 55% on the Dolphins side, 58% of the bets currently sitting with the Chiefs as the home favorite, which honestly is not surprising. Something that we talk about when we talk about public betting data is like, oh, it's the Chiefs. People are going to want to back the Chiefs. This year, backing the Chiefs has not really been good or bad. The Chiefs are 5-5 ATS when the public backs them, so nothing really to go of note there. But they are 3-1 when the money backs them, and they don't have the money here. But looking at the Dolphins are 7-2 when the public 7-2 ATS when the public backs them. So if we do somehow see a shift, with this line being 4.5 and maybe getting up to 5, then we're talking about some interesting trends there. But as of right now, not so much. I'm a little concerned about the Mostert issue. I think with Achane being the sole back, they don't really have a lot of, dynamic opportunities to fake things and make things a little crazy for this Chiefs defense that has been really good. The question is, can, Patrick Mahomes, once Jalen Ramsey's on Rashid Rice and if they double Travis Kelce, will his receivers catch the ball? I don't know. 4.5 seems like a lot. I don't like the game where it sits right now. Kind of just leaning the under.
I'm just being begged to take the Dolphins with this on the line. I cannot believe the total is this high with the conditions outside. I really can't. That's what just is freaking me out. Like, I don't understand. I know that it's already dropped 3 points and it's going to keep dropping, but like, how are we still in the 40s for a game that's going to be so freakishly cold?
Yeah.
I mean, this has potential to be one of the coldest playoff games of all time. And we're talking about a 43.5 point total. That's why everyone's betting the under.
Yeah.
For me, I think that like I don't want to take the under because it everyone's already doing it, and I know the public's been good on the under, whatever. Public's been good this year. I feel like this is almost a play where you wait and you sit how low can you go type of deal.
Bet the over,
and then bet the over. We're talking about
two high potent offenses, and especially is Mostert questionable or is he out? Hold on. Yeah, Mostert's questionable. Xavier Howard's out, obviously. Bradley Chubb's still out, and Waddle's questionable. So it kind of depends on that. I think you're going to see some movement, especially if Mostert and Waddle both do end up suiting up. But it's going to be there is an opportunity. You know, teams have scored a lot of points in snow games. There's an Eagles-Lions game from years ago where McCoy ran for like 3 touchdowns. It's like it's very possible, and Achane has that speed. You know, missed tackles. It's totally possible. I don't hate it. Like, especially if you can just, it gets to like 42 and you're like, fuck it.
Yeah. That's how I feel. And the other way, I mean, everything is saying to not take the Dolphins because the Dolphins haven't won any team that is worth a shit all year.
Mm-hmm.
So let's sit and see where this total winds up and see if you can get a better number, maybe even a little sprinkle on the money line. And the crazier shit has happened. The Chiefs have been in really piss poor form towards the back end of this season.
Yeah.
And another one that I'm going to be eyeing, it feels like it's been going on all season. I've been looking at these first half spread numbers for ATS this season while you've been kind of talking to preview the game. And I couldn't really find an angle where, the Dolphins are slightly above 500 first half against the spread this year. Their last 5, they're 3-2. ATS against the spread, and then the last 3 they're 2-1. So it's like they keep being just there where it's like I can't really find a huge thing. And same with the Chiefs where they're like right there at 1-2, right there, right below 500. But the reason that I was looking there is because the Dolphins have scored 16 points per game in the first half in the last 4 weeks of the regular season, which is the third best in the NFL. And the Chiefs have allowed 12.5 points per game during the first half of games in their last 4, courtesy of Action Network. Thank you for that trend. That's 8th worst in the NFL for the Chiefs. There's gonna be a lot of snow on the ground, DJ. We haven't really talked about it that much. I think that changes things where they're not going to necessarily hit 16 in the first half, but I do really feel like looking at the first half spreads, if this number continues to go, could be of interest to us. So I'll be looking at first half. I'll be looking at full game, but nothing yet for me because I'm not taking the under. If you want to take the under, you got to take it now because it's going to keep going down.
Yeah.
But I'm not taking the under.
I'm in the same boat as you. Like, I'm not loving it. I wish I got it 46.5. It's moved too much, honestly. So is the spread. 3, I like the Chiefs. 4.5, I'm iffy, and especially if it keeps moving up, I might be forced to bet the Dolphins. But I think the Chiefs end up winning. I really do. I think that with the time off for Travis Kelce, I think that helps a lot. I think they figure out a game plan to win. You know, their defense is better than the Dolphins' defense, and you have Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. It's just that simple. The Dolphins has also been on a massive skid. They managed to beat the Jets and the Cowboys very closely, but aside from those, in the last 5, they lost to the Titans. They got murdered by the Ravens and then lost to the Bills. So they're kind of on a skid losing these players.
I think with the type of offensive mind that Mike McDaniel is, I trust that despite the conditions, he's going to have so many things drawn up. Like them being so good in the first half, especially towards the end of the season, is easily to be attributed to
game trips.
Them actually being able to get their game scheme, like everything that they've figured out and planned throughout the week, they're able to take action on in the first half. The second half shit is what bothers me, and I feel like that's been my problem with them all season. Like they've gone out and had early leads or hung with teams in the first half, good teams in the first half, and they just suck in the second half. So I think that that's something that I put a lot of stock into as well. The other thing that I would put stock into, DJ, is I would buy all my Taylor Swift stock right now, because I think the NBC put this one on Peacock because they know that all the Swifties are going to pay for a subscription.
Yeah, I was going to ask what the Taylor Swift game plan was here, but with Travis being off last week, I think he's going to be fine. I think he's going to be great.
Yeah, the Taylor Swift angle is that NBC is going to be making a shit ton of money on people subbing for this one that don't even care about football. They just want to see Taylor Swift.
Yeah, let me just throw Travis Kelce into my anytime touchdown parlay. Locked in. We're good to go. It's just that simple. It's free money.
Yeah, I've seen Taylor Swift jerseys at college football games, at Carolina Panthers games, and play the Chiefs this year. It's stupid. It is stupid.
It's good for the sport. Moving on, Steelers plus 10 in Buffalo. Total set at 36. Bills 53% of the bets, giving them the public side. The Steelers currently have the money, 14%, 61% of the money. This is interesting. I mean, the line opened at 9.5. It moved to 10. It's back to 9.5. In some spots, kind of flip flopping here. It's like, how can you just be okay with a 10-point spread given this weather? No weather, the Bills might win by 30. It's Mason Rudolph in Buffalo, and the Bills have been on a heater. They just managed to win the division after all of that adversity.
Can I add something real quick, and I'll let you keep going?
Yeah,
the Steelers are also 1-10 straight up without TJ Watt.
Yeah, I was going to say the TJ Watt thing is huge, and
it's
that's
massive.
Why. Yeah, it's huge. It's always been huge. They were horrible last year without him, and that's why I picked him to win Defensive Player of the Year. Like, there's just so many difficulties that they have creating pressure when they don't have TJ Watt. And now you've got a running quarterback in Josh Allen. It's going to be crazy with the snow. I just don't know if I can really trust Mason Rudolph to put up 10 points in this weather. And against this Bills defense that is consistently getting healthier week to week. If you look at the Bills' last, let's see, 5 games, let's see, they let up 14 to the Dolphins, somehow let up 21 to the Patriots, 22 to the Chargers, and 10 to the Cowboys. And before that, 17 to the Chiefs. Like, they've been playing very, very good football as of late. So I would never go anywhere. I would never bet the Steelers here, especially with the snow. But I don't know if I can say I want Buffalo minus 10 yet. I think there's still some questions with the weather, like whether it'll actually happen or not. So I'm definitely just going to wait and see what happens. Right now, wind set to be 23 miles an hour. Not ideal. Heavy. That's good for the under, and it's going to snow. So questionable.
Yeah, the double-digit favorite things I think is very interesting. 11-4 ATS in the wild card, as well as the Steelers 1-10 without Watt. This would be one where I do like the under a bit more because I don't think the Steelers are going to score at all. But I'm also not going to take a play yet on this one. This will be one we'll wake up Sunday and check the vibes, see what's going on.
Mike Tomlin is 61-1 to the under as a Steelers coach. So that's big. That's good. Is this one that we want to lean Bills in our teaser? I know we're not getting crazy value because we're not going past 3, but you're going past 7, and the total is 36.
No, we don't tease. We don't tease spreads above 10. DJ. Either way, we don't do that. It's game we do not want to play.
There's a limit on the amount of games that we can put in the Sharpen the Public teaser, so just keeping that in mind.
I've got one in mind.
Okay. The public currently, hold on. The public currently, again, is on the Bills. Like I said, 53%. That can easily change by Sunday, but the Bills are 6-7 when they have the money back or the public backing them. So nothing too bad, nothing too crazy. Steelers, on the other hand, are 5-3 when they get the public backing, 6-3 when they get the money backing. So interesting that there's that angle, especially probably the whole Tomlin as a dog or vibes. But I don't see this offense really doing much against this Bills defense.
Is there a Tomlin as a dog vibe? I mean, it's not as hype as Vrabel as a dog.
He's better.
Patriots head coach. Oh, really?
Tomlin is one of the few. There's 3. I think Vrabel's 3rd. Tomlin is 2nd, and then some guy that I don't know is 1st.
Yeah, it's not Jeff Fisher, so I don't care. All right, on to the next game. We'll talk about the Packers and Cowboys in the middle of the day for Sunday. We've got the Packers at +7. They have very close to 60% of the bets and 85% of the money, as well as a total that has gone up, DJ, from 48.5. We're up to 51 in some spots, or 50.5, depending on where you're shopping. Mm-hmm. And everyone is slamming that over. People cannot get enough of that over. I'm not touching that total.
I like the over. You go on.
The total being higher than 49 sucks. But this was going to be the one that I was going to suggest that we tease down. I know the Cowboys' playoff woes have been storied. They've been long talked about. And it would be very funny if they continued. I don't see it this time around, personally. I think that this Packers team I would have loved this Packers team getting a little bit more of a favorable matchup. Like if the Packers could have got the Bucs or even the Lions, the Cowboys is just a tough one for this team. Where that Cowboys offense, when it goes, it goes. And when you're going up against a Packers defense that is pretty loosey-goosey, DJ.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be, that's why the total is so high. I almost want to just zag on both ends and go Cowboys and under, but I do like the Cowboys a lot more than I like the under. And that would be my suggestion for the second leg of the teaser, is to get them down to -1. So you're just getting Cowboys money line, which is a -310 value if you were to just take it straight. I think it's a great matchup for Dak. There's a lot of favorable matchups for CD in that defense. And 2, I know the run game has left a lot to be desired this season. Pollard was everyone's fantasy first rounder, right? Everyone was so hyped about him come draft season, and it wasn't as great as people expected it to be, but I do think that they will do all right against this Packers defensive front. It's not going to happen this time for the Pack. I don't know how you feel about it. I think that you're going to go Packers here.
I like the Packers. Yeah, I loved them at 7.5. It's now down to 7, showing that there is some, professional love on the side of Green Bay. I think this Dallas defense is a bit, I wouldn't say it's overhyped, because Micah Parsons is a dog, and there's a lot to be said about their secondary and the amount of, pick sixes they've had. But I don't think it's something that Jordan Love and this Packers offense can't score against. What scares me is, like you said, the Packers defense in the holes that it has. There's a lot of opportunities for Dak and CD to just nuke and go crazy, especially at home in a playoff game. Somewhere where they often fall short. So just historically for Dallas. So that's one of the reasons I like the dog here, +7.5. I mean, do I think the Cowboys are going to win? Probably. I lean the over. I'm not going to say, I don't know if that's my best bet yet, because it's still moving up, and I want to grab it before it keeps going. But I don't know. I'll think about that one.
So that means you don't want the Cowboys as the second leg of the teaser, do you?
Not at all. No.
Yeah.
Total's too high too. I don't know.
Total is too high.
They might win by 1. I don't know if they lose, but I can't get behind it. I think there's a lot of opportunity here for Dallas to come up short. Like they tried so hard to get the division, and they managed to do that, but they also, managed to lose to the Dolphins and the Bills, and the Packers have, albeit they haven't really played great teams, but they've played really, really well as of late, and that's what's important when you come into the playoffs. Now, yes, you have to get Jordan Love going on the road, but it's Dallas. Dallas chokes all the time. They're 29th in success rate allowed on dropbacks, which is only better than Washington, Arizona, and Seattle. Like, that's not great. I think Jordan Love's going to have an ample opportunity to find his guys that he's found all season. And another thing is the Cowboys love to play man, and Jordan Love is significantly better this year playing against man coverage versus zone coverage. And, it's the Mike McCarthy Bowl with the Packers coming back into Dallas. I think LaFleur's got an opportunity to make a statement here against a former Packers coach. I don't know. I don't
McCarthy Bowl.
Don't know.
Why
if
are we
he's
not
gonna
talking
win.
about the Mike McCarthy Bowl? We're talking about the Matthew Stafford Bowl. We need to talk more about the Mike McCarthy Bowl. What are we doing?
Because Mike McCarthy has done nothing in his career aside have Aaron Rodgers win him a Super Bowl.
Yeah, fair. Okay. How do you feel about this though with the Packers? Like, just from a strength of schedule standpoint, and like who they've actually played and who they've beaten. Win against Chicago to start the year, lost to Atlanta, beat New Orleans in Green Bay, lose to Detroit in Green Bay, lose at Las Vegas. This is October 9th. So
We're going through their whole schedule.
Yeah. We are. We're breaking down this game. Let's break it down right.
Okay.
Lose at Denver. So they had a bye week in between there, from in between October 9th and October 22nd. Then they still go and lose to Denver. Lose to Minnesota in Green Bay. Beat LA, the LA Rams, 20-3. And then lose at Pittsburgh. So we're now on November 12th. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 weeks left. So we're midway through the season. Beat the Chargers 23-20. Beat Detroit in Detroit 29-22. And then beat KC 27-19 on December 3rd. I was at that game. That was like when the hype came to a head for this team. Everyone was like all in on this team. So was I, dude. I mean, I love betting on the Packers this year.
I mean, this is one of the reasons
I think that's what we need to realize here, because then they go and they lose at the Giants, lose to Tampa Bay in Green Bay. They only beat the Panthers by 3 in Charlotte. Then they beat Minnesota 33-10, and then they beat Chicago last weekend 17-9. I just don't think the quality of their opponents is that great. I don't. They beat a KC team, but KC's also been absolutely dog shit the second half of the season, especially the final third of the season for me. And Detroit is so wishy-washy where they'll have like a game or two where they slip up. Detroit's offense is fire. It's awesome. But like, I mean, the defense, they let up 29 to this Green Bay team. I think Green Bay thrives against defenses that aren't amazing. And it's attributed to the Matt LaFleur being actually to implement his system, as well as Jordan Love like being able to break down an easy defense. He'll be able to break down a hard defense someday. I just don't think that someday is right now. I think this Dallas defense is good against teams that are above average and below. I think the good offenses they really struggle against, and we've seen that. But to me, this one, with everyone signing with the Packers, it feels like we still have that bias from early December when they were on that run they beat Detroit and they beat KC, when we haven't realized that the final 5 teams they've played are shit and they went 3-2 against them. So I think that for me, I'm going to lock in Cowboys -7 against my Packers here.
Wow.
Yeah, I am. I do think that this is one where the Cowboys have a pretty easy path to get to that NFC Championship game if they are able to.
Is that your best bet?
Depending on who,
Is that your best bet?
No. My best bet is the Texans. I mean, that's the first game. We can talk about them at the end once we're done previewing all these games. But I think that's my best bet. But I really do love. I mean, you and I are contrasting in this. I get the whole man coverage part of this, but I do think that the Cowboys defense is going to be one of, if not the best defense that the Packers have played this season.
The Chiefs, I would argue, but I mean, they're both top tier defenses. I think the number is too big. I think 7.5 especially is too much. The Cowboys, when favored by that much, have the Packers even been? Let me go to hold on. I was trying to look at this while you were talking. The Packers have been 7-point dogs once this year, and they were 8.5-point dogs against the Lions in Detroit, and they won.
True, but they were 1-5 in their last 6 heading into that game.
Sure, exactly. I mean, this is a team that, I don't know. I don't see the Cowboys as being 7 points better than this Packers team right now. I think the line is too large. I don't think that Green Bay goes in and wins.
Sorry,
I think they have
5. No, 6.
They have an opportunity to do so, but this spread just doesn't quite make sense to me. They've been favored in their last, well, aside from the Vikings game, last 5. So it's interesting. It's going to be fun. I would take the dog in the side, but I think I like the over more than I like the Packers. But I'll talk about it a little bit in my article.
One more thing.
Go ahead.
Dallas is 6-2. ATS is a home favorite this season.
Okay.
I'll leave it at that. One unit.
How many of those are above 7 or over 7 points? Probably the Commanders. Yeah, 3-2 above when the spread. 4-2 when the spread's above 7.
Wow, it's happened that many times at home for them that they've been double digits.
Interesting.
That is interesting. I think that's something you take into account. I mean, they're not going to be a favorite. The only time that they wouldn't be at home is if they match up against the 49ers later on. Can I do one more thing that's crazy about this game? And it's not even about the game.
Yeah.
I can't believe I'm doing this shit, dude. Because this is some stuff that you would find on ESPN. This is some stuff that you would hear us roast. But DJ and I were talking before the podcast began tonight, and our Super Bowl prediction is Ravens and Niners, but that's easy. That's the easy thing to do. In sports, the easy thing to do, the predictable outcome never happens. When does that ever happen where the two favorites, they end up going to the Super Bowl? It's so rare. So
last year, Eagles Chiefs.
Last year was pretty easy, yeah. Anywho, I think there's a lot of value on the Cowboys to win the NFC at plus 320 for like half a unit. I think there's I'm not going to throw a full unit on that, but I mean, dude, you win a unit and a half plus some change on that. I think that there's totally some value on that. So I'm looking at BetUS right now. There might be better numbers out there. San Francisco sitting at minus 125, and then you've got Dallas at plus 320, the Eagles at plus 750, which is hilarious, no offense. And Detroit at plus 800. I would put Detroit over you guys, no offense. I just think the Cowboys have one of the easiest paths there. They've got this game and then at 7-point favorites, and then depending on what happens next, like it just feels like it's going to be a Cowboys-Niners NFC Championship. They've already played once. They got embarrassed the first time, but they at least have the tape. You know what the recipe is to beat the Niners now after the Ravens spanked them. And one injury or two injuries happen in that NFC semifinal game, and then you might get a more than rattled 49ers team. Because quite literally, they're like one Trent or one McCaffrey injury away. And I'm not saying that it's going to happen. It's unlikely they get hurt, right? McCaffrey's a bit injury prone, and so is Trent. But there are things there where that plus 320 presents some value to me. So I'm going to go with the Cowboys minus 7 as well as them to win the NFC at plus 320.
I think that was about a 6-minute rant about the Cowboys. It's more passion than you've had about the Colts all year. It's pretty impressive.
That's not true. I'm just trying to get us a sponsorship by ESPN because you have to talk about the Cowboys for that long if you're going to go work for ESPN, right?
Thank you, Stephen A.
Yes, forget ESPN. But
let's go. Let's talk about Matt Stafford and the Rams facing his old team in Detroit. Rams plus 3 again in Detroit. Total set at 51.5 here as well. Another high one. Public currently on the Rams, as we talked about at the beginning. 73% of the bets, 93% of the money on the Rams. 93%, 20% sharp differential. Line opened at 4, moved to 3. I love the Rams, Andy. I love Matt Stafford in this spot, and I might make it my best bet, but I want to hear your take first.
Money line or spread?
If I'm making my best bet, it's got to be spread, but I might take their money line.
I think their form has been really solid. I want to hear your reasons before I go, to be honest with you. You go ahead. The floor is yours. I'm not as strong on the Lions as you are on the Rams, but I do lean Lions early, but I want to hear your case first before I kind of give my spiel.
Firstly, there's a reason the line started at -4 and has been bet to -3, and there's resistance probably from both sides. That's why it's not 2.5. But this Rams team has been on an absolute tear as of recently, and it's been from their kickstart. Kyren Williams' return has turned this offense into such more dynamic offense that Sean McVay wants to play with, and it's similar to the team that they won the Super Bowl with. 4-0 in their last 4, 3-1 covering the spread. They won in Santa Clara, but it's against the Niners that didn't really play much, so it didn't matter. Obviously, the Rams didn't even really play much. It was the Carson Wentz return, scored a touchdown, so good for him. They beat the Giants, they beat the Saints, and they beat the Commanders. They barely lost to the Rams in Baltimore, and that's a big sign for me. I don't know. I think this team is so much different with Kyren Williams back, and I think that he's going to have an ample opportunity to make a difference with Matt Stafford's experience in the playoffs and his experience in this building. And then 2, I think it's a major point that Sam Laporta is not going to be playing. I think they're going to have to lean heavily on Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. And if they don't manage to run the ball well, and Sean McVay figures that out, that they're going to have to run the ball, and you can double Amon-Ra, there's gonna be some issues for the Rams on offense, or the Lions, that is, on offense. It's tough though. So the 3 is not the thing I love. I wish I got it 3.5 or even 4, but I like the Rams.
Yeah, Rams are 5-3-1. ATS is the away team, stacking up the exact same way it's Detroit, who are 5-3 as the home team. For me, the Laporte injury is huge. I think that this Lions team has been figured out in a sense against some of the better offenses. And what you want to see from a playoff team is like good form heading into the playoffs. And you're exactly right. The Rams are on a 7-1 stretch in their last 8 to close out the season. So I hope those of you who bought Rams stock at the beginning of the season, or hopefully bought it midway, bought the dip, because that's an awesome return. I do think the quality of opponents that they went up against in that run, it's not great. Not to completely burst your bubble. The host Seattle beat them 17-16. At Arizona 37-14. Hosted Cleveland, who we talked about, horrible on the road, right? Beat them 36-19. Went on the road at Baltimore and only lost 31-37, which I find to be pretty impressive. Like, that's not, and I think a lot of, not just us, but talking heads too, highlighted that game to kind of say, hey, like, yeah, the Rams lost, but they kind of showed, like, we're here. Like, this offense is to be reckoned with. Hung 28 points on Washington, 30 on New Orleans. And then they won their last 2 games by 1 point, 26-25 at New York and 21-20 at San Fran. At least the San Fran road game, they got to stay on their side and their time zone, so it wasn't too big of a road travel game because it's about to be their 3rd game on the road in a row. I'm going to stay away. I think what some of the stuff that you talked about, the Rams as well as the Lions, I give you credit for. I love the totals this high, but I also don't blame it.
Yeah, it's a dome. It's inside. No weather can affect this one.
Yeah. No weather can affect this one. And I feel like it's going to be all offense, no breaks. It just feels too easy, doesn't it? It feels a little too easy for me. But I don't trust this Rams defense. The Lions offense, whenever they go up against the Lions defense, whenever they go up against an offense that actually is worth a shit, is obviously not great. I think the thing with this Lions defense is how bad they are against the pass, and you're going up against Puka Nacua, the guy who they put in the final game, even though people were sitting out to go break those rookie records. He's had an awesome season. I think there's a lot of elements with this Rams team to be excited about, but my gut is telling me Lions, so I'm going to sit on this one.
It's fair.
That's totally your favorite play, but I'm going to sit.
Yeah, it's definitely my best bet. I'm going to hopefully I'll wait to see if I can get a better number, but I'll take 3 now for half a unit, and then I'll see if I can get a better number.
I know the Rams offense has been putting up numbers on numbers on numbers and numbers. It just feels a little fraudulent to me. That's what's keeping me away.
The last thing I'll say, Andy, is we talk about public betting data a lot, and I already mentioned it with the Texans and how good, their odds here against the Browns, being 1-5 with the public backs the Browns. Right now, the Rams currently have 60 or 73% of the public. They are the highest public team as of right now, as of recording. They also have the money. The Rams this season are 6-3 ATS when the public backs them, and 6-3 ATS when the money backs them. That is a good sign. Although the Lions are one of the best teams ATS, we saw the best team ATS last year, the Giants, get murdered in the playoffs after beating the Vikings. So just something to keep in mind. I like the Rams, and I will be betting the Rams.
A side I will be betting on is your Eagles. As we preview the final game, the Monday night game.
My.
Eagles were -2.5. They're now up to -3. Depending on where I think it's -3 pretty much everywhere now. 60% of the bets, 64% of the money. This is the least bet game because Monday night. People will get to it when they get to it. But even with 43,000 bets, which is the most we've seen from a Monday night game all season long because the playoffs. 91 91% of the bets are on the under. And if you thought 91 was a lot, let's look at 96% of the money on the under.
I like it.
For a 5% sharp edge. Yeah, it's not a sharp edge, dude. That is just all those same people that ride the under are on the under.
It's likely going to rain, which is, well, they don't know, but it's because it's Monday, but they likely think it's going to rain. So that's a big part as to why people like the under. It's moved so much as well.
Yeah, I mean, if the Farmer's Almanac says it, then I trust it. But the weather.com, I don't know. I really like the birds here. The form has been terrible by you guys. You guys have been so bad recently. I don't know, and nobody knows what it is. Nobody really knows what like the driving factor is. It's just like a slump.
That's my point. Is I'll let you go on. We are better than the Bucs, but the reason that this is such a difficult play is because they've just looked awful the last 5 weeks since they just cannot play proper football. It's disgusting.
I like the way you guys match up against this team. I think this is gonna be a DeAndre Swift game. I really do. This is gonna be a DeAndre Swift game. If Jalen Hurts stuff scares me, but that makes me think it's gonna be a DeAndre Swift game even more. Like the stuff going on with Jalen's health, because he got hurt last game, right?
Yeah, he's been hurt, but he usually just plays through. He'll be fine.
Yeah,
it won't be. Yeah, he'll be fine.
We'll see. Well, I mean, yeah, we'll see. I think that's a contributing factor. But I really like the way that they match up running the ball against this Buccaneers team. How can you, with a good conscience, bag any NFC South team this season in a playoff game, or Baker Mayfield in a playoff game? And I'm saying that with a straight face. I get that I was wrong at the beginning of the season when I said that they brought in Baker Mayfield to tank this season.
Who was right?
Your guy, Baker.
I was all in on Buck stock. I'll just put that out there.
You were, and now you're gonna sell it at their peak. I hope you sell it before Monday. Yes, I do think you guys are gonna win, and then you're gonna get clobbered in the next round.
Yeah, well, let's not talk about the divisional round. We'll see here. Look, from my perspective, looking at the Eagles, like I said, they are the better team than the Bucs, and if they muster enough, they figure it out, and they're like, okay, we are the better team. They had an extra day of rest. They will find a way to beat the Bucs. They beat the Bucs early in the year in Tampa Bay. They're not going to be worried about going to Tampa Bay. It's honestly better that they're going to fucking Tampa Bay. They don't have to listen to the Philadelphia people boo them. They're going to hear the Tampa Bay people boo them, and it won't matter. Unless there's Philadelphia fans there, which there likely will be. This Bucs defense is horrible against the run. So I love what you said about the Swift stocks. I think it's going to be, the Swift thing is huge. And if they actually put the ball on the ground, which is how they're meant to play football, it's how they got to the Super Bowl last year, using their running backs, they will manage to win. I think there's a massive issue on the Bucs side of the ball, or Bucs offensively, where they cannot run the ball. They've not figured out Rachaad White all year. It's really just been Baker to Mike Evans and hope things works. The issue there is Eagles have not been getting pressure at all. There's questions about the defensive line, that Jalen Carter, stock has tanked since the beginning of the year. The entire defensive line has been pretty bad over the last couple of weeks. I don't know the record, but they have not had many sacks, and that's not good for a organization that prides itself in good defensive line play. So that worries me, and the secondary has just been awful. And obviously that's been, the Giants put up how many points against us?
Oh God, dude! I turned that shit off after the first half.
27 and then 25, and then
I was embarrassed. I gave
35.
out one unit on the podcast, but I ended up putting like $50 on it because I was so confident in you guys, and I ended up just netting even on a lot of my plays.
Yeah, it's not ideal. We have not looked good at all, and since that Niners loss, really. So will we figure it out? I don't know, and that's one of the reasons I don't want to necessarily bet it. I think they get it done. I do. I was leaning towards putting the Bucs in the teaser as a home dog, 8-3-2 ATS, but I'm not there yet. I lean Eagles, and maybe it's my bias, but I don't know. I think they figure it out.
To go with the running, the whole running game piece of this for the Eagles, the Bucs are 2-6 when they've had teams rush for 100 yards or more against them this season. Do you know how many times the Eagles have done that this year? Had 100 rushing yards or more?
Every game.
12.
12.
12.
So yeah, it should be more. Their offensive line is built to block for the run. It's terrible.
Should have been.
Except for Lane Johnson. Lane Johnson is much better than the pass.
Which, hey, by the way, DeAndre Swift over 4.5 rushing touchdowns. Cha-ching!
Yeah, the futures we did pretty well on the futures this year. We've done pretty well on futures over the past couple of years. Public again is very good in wildcard week. We said 53% over the last 20 years. Public is 5-4 ATS this year, back in the Eagles, which is what we see today. So trends leaning that way, not necessarily bet it. If you can get better numbers, maybe. I think this number might get closer to 2.5 and 2, but I'd be I don't know. I don't think it'll stay there. I think you'd have to kind of snipe it.
We're gonna have to settle with -3, which I'm gonna go ahead and do.
Taking it right now.
Yeah, I want to go ahead and give that out. I really do. I feel really. The Eagles have been good to me. They may have let me down the last couple of weeks when I thought they would turn it around, and they did not. But
you don't believe in Baker Mayfield?
I don't. It's not as much of a Baker thing as it is I love the running matchup. I keep kind of beating that drum. At some point, it has to turn around. And I do think that this is the time to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a good...
This is one of those examples where a shit team makes the playoffs, because once you expand the playoffs so far, bad teams will make it in. Now, I mean, it's a division thing, right? So you're going to Tampa for a reason, but the division was shit. So people say that all the time about my division, the AFC South, and now our partners in the South, NFC, are the ones carrying that torch, and you guys are going to be the ones to shut them down. That would be all time. I mean, that'd be hysterical if you guys lost to the Bucs. But yeah, it's not happening.
Maybe I'll just throw a little bit on the Eagles to win the Super Bowl, and they figure it out, because
that's not
their stock is as low as it's going to get.
The Cowboys are making the Super Bowl. Oh, they're going to make it. I don't know if they're going to win it. They're going to lose the Ravens the Super Bowl, but plus 320, it's a great value. Who's our second leg for this teaser? I mean, I'm done with this preview if you are. I'm done with this preview if you are. If you want to shut that off, I think what we need to talk about is how we close out this teaser, because we feel great about the Texans, right?
Yeah, it's got to be Texans. I think we add Dolphins. 10.5 in the snow game. 44
with a total that's going to go down.
Yes.
The spread has not moved though, has it?
No, it's been 3.5 and it moved to 4.5. So it might be 5.
I just think the numbers are going to keep moving on this.
Once you get over 10, it doesn't really matter. But I mean, if you're saying if you get to 6.5, we can bet the Chiefs.
I mean,
it's not getting to 6.5.
This Miami defense is terrible. Let's just say it's terrible. Then that's what I fear. But at the same time,
here's what I'll give you. Your options are Dolphins plus 10.5. You can take Bills -4, Packers plus 13, or Rams plus 9. Those are the only ones that I would take.
Let's run through from December onwards for the Chiefs offense. Are you ready? They scored 19 in their loss at Green Bay. They scored 17 hosting Buffalo. They beat New England in New England and put up 27. They only won by 10, so that spread pushed, or 10.5 depending on what you got. I feel like that one closed at 9.5.
Doesn't matter.
Number's wrong. It closed at 9. Whatever. Lost to Las Vegas and KC, only put up 14 points. Beat Cincinnati 25-17, which allowed them to rest their guys against the Chargers in a 13-12 win that they scored 13 points in. This offense has not been scoring a lot because Patty Mahomes had not a lot of guys to throw it to, and I just feel like Travis Kelce's form has gone downhill throughout the season.
Yeah, the Dolphins worry me. I would honestly, I like Bills -4. Like,
no, I do kind of like the Dolphins at plus 10.5, because I do think that in that span, they have not beaten a single team by 10.5 points. The last time they beat a team by 10 points was at Las Vegas, 31-17. Before that, at Denver, 9-24. That was in October. See, they did it a few times in the middle of the year and at the beginning of the year, but the back half of this season has been so different for this KC team. I don't think they have it in them. With the conditions, too, and with how good the Dolphins are in the first half, let's just get a really solid first half out of the Dolphins.
Cover 10.5. So that's simple.
For a team that has is averaging 16 points per game in the first half.
I'm locking it in.
You're able
right
to
now.
cover 10.5 for the full game.
I'm locking it in right now.
How do you feel about that?
Yep, I'm locking it in.
Yeah. We'll go with that. As always, teasers are a unit and a half. I don't make the rules. That's just a rule. I do make that a rule. That is my rule. But
this is gonna be a fun week. Hopefully, we do a little better than last year in Wild Card Weekend.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, man. I love that Texans play. That is my play of the week. We're not doing.
Andy's bet of the week: Texans plus 2.5. If he gets to 3, he'll tweet it out, and then Rams plus 3 is my best bet.
Texans money line for me. Yeah, it's plus
Texans money
115
line
on the money line. Yeah,
love it.
The one that I'm iffy on and waiting on is the. I was gonna wait on this game because I thought that the Dolphins might keep going.
Yeah.
But if we're teasing it, fuck it. I think it's a really smart play to get 10.5.
Yeah, I like that teaser. Texans Dolphins is the Sharpen the Public teaser. My best bet: Rams plus 3. Hopefully, I'll get 3.5. Andy's best bet: Texans money line. Thank you guys as always. This has been Sharpen the Public, the only place to talk about public betting data in every week. It's been fun, Andy. I'm excited to see these wildcard games play out. It's gonna be a great weekend. Hopefully, the Eagles can manage to manage to put out a win, but I'm not hopeful. But nonetheless, should be fun games and a lot of fun weather to watch as well.
Oh yeah. I can't wait. We have a really interesting playoff slate, which is all we can ask for from a season that the public has been 56% ATS on. So I wouldn't expect any kind of other strange wild card slate than this on a year that the public has been so successul. But
totally true.
Again, thank you for watching us. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at DJHH Sports, at AndyHH Sports. That's all I got, man.
Yeah,
Thanks for
appreciate
having
it. Leave a like, comment, subscribe on YouTube if you're new. We appreciate all the support. I mean, as always, the comments, the love. We appreciate you all, Redditors, everything. It's been going well. I mean, we've now been doing this for 2 years, so it's going pretty strong, and hopefully we can finish off the Super Bowl well and keep it going.
Oh yeah. 4 weeks to go. Let's enjoy it.
Hell yeah. As always, thank you guys. We'll see you next time. Bet well.
The boys bet better with beer.